Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Great. So I think we can begin.
All right. I made a few changes to my approach to coaching since the last time. So this time I decided to go through the replay without the student first and make notes, stuff I want to go.
Okay,
Probably better way.
fair enough.
See my screen now?
Yes.
Alright, so we're just going to start with going over the laning stage, kinds of things that you could have done better there. Then we'll move on to rotations in the mid slash late game, pretty much anything post laning stage. And then we'll talk about, well, throughout the whole thing really, we'll talk about item builds. I'll try not to get too sidetracked until I'm done explaining the post laning stage rotations. And then I'll go over like some general like macro stuff.
Okay.
This can't be good.
You lose face and life.
Well, what did you expect?
So this looks like a typical game that has no supports. Except maybe got a word, so he's a supporter, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, you'll still have to pretty much play as a core in these types of games, but, somebody has to take the responsibility of buying, like, wards from time to time. And when you're against, like, Tinker, you don't have to buy that many wards. Probably just, like, about the Tinker ward spots. They'll catch them out. Yeah, pretty much just, ward whichever spot you want to catch him on. Other than that, just ward for yourself, so you can try to play your own game better, like warding as Underlord, probably more like where you're going to defend. So in this lane, I don't mind that you're contesting the Weaver for last hits, because he's probably going to miss most of them anyway. But you really need to focus more on these denies a little bit more. Slow it down to normal speed now.
I think at the early game I missed some of the denies. I tried to go for it. So the first one, I think if you saw it, I went for the deny just until I get my Q, so I can just spam it and then zone out Slark and prevent him from getting LH.
I think that's fine if you're like a solo laner and you're trying to manipulate the creep aggro by pushing into their tower and having a rubber band effect. But in this case, just the Slark being there doesn't really prevent you from trying to get these denies, and you have more damage than them, so you should definitely be trying to get every single one if possible.
Okay.
And what's going to win you the lane? What's going to win you the lane is how many denies you get, especially if it's like a 2v1. If you're just out damaging Slark the whole time, which is what's going to happen since you have Atrophy Bro, then
you should get every deny.
Yeah, you should be able to get as many denies as possible, and delay his level 6 as much as you can. And once you rack up that damage, if he comes up to test the last hit, before it's actually low enough, you can just hit him 1 or 2 times, and then on the second or third hit, after you hit him, to get that slight bit of harass, then you deny then. And you know, if you're spamming this firestorm, then you're going to, like, maybe the Slark isn't necessarily going to get these last hits under tower, but it's also going to make it more difficult for you to deny if it's under this tower. So, you know, the goal of Slark in the laning stage is to get out of it while getting level 6 at a reasonable time and getting as much farm as you can. And by having it under their tower for so often, you're really helping him more than you're helping yourself.
Moving what I just... So I'm saying the screen is frozen, but I think you have resumed. Okay, now it's working. Okay.
I paused it while you were talking.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so if it's under tower, you know, even if you get a deny like that, you're still going to take a little bit of tower hits.
I'm not sure if I give him the first blood or not. Yeah, I think I gave him the first blood now. Yeah.
Yeah, it never would have happened if the creeps were like back here, you know?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you do have 2 cores in this lane, so I want to open up a possibility as like the second person in the lane, which is to pull this neutral camp into your creeps to pull back the lane. That way you can farm this camp while not taking any damage, as well as, you know, deny some farm and XP the enemy. So that's something you can do as an offlaner when there's no, when there's weak supports to contest this pull, or if it's all the way up here and the carry can't contest it himself. So what you do is, and you kind of more have to have a feel of it more than anything. These creeps will follow you for 10 seconds and they'll get to about here. So, when the creeps are right around pretty much the tower is when you pull this camp.
Oh, okay. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think because I think after this I will go and try to cut the lane. So I don't. That's the only thing I could think of. But I think the side lane is a better idea.
Yeah. I mean, cutting the lane is fine if you can do it. But if you're in a position where you're trading farm, and this guy, you know, he's got a stout shield, he's got 6 armor under the tower, and his regen got buffed recently, so he's got 3.8 when he used to have like 1 something. So he doesn't really mind last hitting under tower like that. It's one thing if this is like some kind of ranged hero who's not going to have a stout shield and a calling blade, or if you scale better than them. But in this case, all Slark really cares about in this lane is getting some semblance of farm, especially since he doesn't have any support, and getting level 6 like I mentioned earlier. So, I mean, Weaver's leaving you to annoy this Bloodseeker in the jungle, and that's fine, but it would also be okay for Weaver to be, you know, handling the lane creeps while you farm an extra jungle creep. That way you deny a bit to the Slark, and also secure yourself some extra farm. And after this camp is dead, you can just come back into lane, continue getting your normal last hits denies. I'm not telling you to accommodate somebody who's picking another core in your lane, but you might as well make the most out of it.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm gonna put it up to 2x until I want to make my next one. Oh yeah, so something I wrote down here is, like, there's different types of lanes, right? There's lanes where you have kill potential on the enemy by pushing into this tower, and lanes where you don't. So, as an aggro lane that could potentially kill this Slark, like, I don't know, say you have a Spirit Breaker plus you, and maybe dive the Slark, and maybe kill him, or take away most of his regen, just leave him crippled, and having to go back to base, or use the shrine right at the 5-minute mark, or ferry himself even more regen when you don't really want to ferry yourself more regen as a Slark, you know, since you've got regen as soon as you hit level 6. But in a lane where it's Weaver and Underlord, you've got pretty low kill potential.
Yeah, true.
That's another reason why you don't want to be pushing under this tower. Because, you know, unless the lane's like all the way back here, and you have, and they have like no support whatsoever, and you've got your Spirit Breaker just standing behind the Slark and just keeping it back here, then you're just like zoning him all the way out. But you're probably not going to kill him. But you might be able to kill him under tower, that kind of configuration. This doesn't happen with under. Doesn't really change what I was saying earlier. Just adding on to it.
But if you wanted to, so you're saying if he had a Spread Breaker, we could keep him pushed under the tower and even kill him under the tower. But since we don't have it, it's better that we don't push the lane and we get as many denies as we can.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, in general, you just go for the denies, and if the enemy is preventing you from getting denies and getting last hits, and they're denying you, then that's where it's better to go for a kill rather than just sit there and get last hits and denies. Unless the lane equilibrium is messed up like this, just having a more.
Okay.
So, you know, generally speaking, even if you're not killing the person, even if you have kill potential on them, you don't necessarily even want to go for the kill unless it means, unless they're making it so that you can't get the denies on. Because getting the denies is a lot of the time more impactful than even killing them. As long as you're keeping the lane equilibrium.
Okay.
Alright, so the catapult wave is coming up. Let's see what you do with them.
I think we get the tower, if I'm not wrong, in that minute.
See, this is where it's good to cut this wave, because at the same time your catapult wave is spawning. So it's fine to cut this wave, but this next wave I would just pull it and aggro to these creeps. And Weaver should probably be the one going for these bounty runes. You're, you know, pretty slow.
Yeah.
Immobile. But definitely want to prevent the Slark from dragging this particular wave off of his tower as much as you possibly can. It's pretty low. You probably could have gone up a little bit sooner, but you were a bit focused on these creeps, and by the time you got over, all your entire wave just died. One way you can deal with that is, and he even hit level 6 off of that last creep, so this makes your ability to get more damage than you've already got on the tower even less so. He's pretty much getting full XP, and you guys are splitting XP, so the way that you have to deal with that is getting denied.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, okay. I think then I TP'd, then it was another match, I guess.
Yeah, at this point, Slark just doesn't give a shit anymore, because you guys just can't kill him, and can't zone him out of the lane. And now that your catapult wave died, and you know, something you can do is use Glyph to prevent him from helping any of those creeps die, and preventing 100 DPS from the tower. So, and you probably should have had boots when you were making this move, because you're starting to get low, and even though this Bloodseeker's pretty low level, I don't know.
Yeah, he could have gotten.
Maybe he would have been like level 4 with a Blood Right, or level 5 with 212 or something, and he could have just walked over and killed you.
Yeah, that's true.
Or if there was like a normal support or ogre decided to finally come top, then you would have died as well. So that's where you want to have the boots, so that you can prevent yourself from taking damage as much as you can. Not getting that damage on the tower was really a missed opportunity. But now the lane's just pretty much over. Alright, so post-laning stage, as an Underlord, you're pretty much either going to want, like after you have a couple items up, just deathball down a lane with your team, or just be on tower defense duty. So, the way that works is you go where the enemy wants where the enemy wants to push, where the enemy's next objective is. That's also going to be the most dangerous farm to get. And that's where, as Underlord, you TP in and you sit under the tower and you spam Firestorm, and then you use your Dark Rift to go elsewhere if they decide to dive you. So that's pretty much what your rotation should look like as an Underlord post the laning stage. So this is pretty much the easiest tower to get for the Dire team, and it's also probably where, like, Tinker's about to go gank there. Bloodseeker, when he gets his level 6, which he almost has, is probably going to go, if there's not an easy kill right here, he's probably just going to go down here, try to kill somebody. Pretty difficult to dive the mid tower, just because the tower range is like right here. You don't have a lot of space. So let's just see what your first rotation ends up being. And I think you had, or I don't know, but you should have had a magic wand in this game. It's just an OP item right now with the 20 charges. Really helps with your mana issues on Underlord. Like the Soul Ring mostly solves them, but that burst of 300 HP and 300 mana is really going to make a big difference on any hero.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, since the slot doesn't spam spells that much in the lane, I was thinking of just going for the Soul Ring and then Ring of Health, and then, because then with that I have enough regen just to spam a Q, and then if I want to farm or harass, I can do it. That's why, I mean, I didn't go for a stick.
Yeah, and that's fine, but like there's two types of magic wands. There's going to be an early magic wand in lane because you're against a spell spammer, like, I don't know, Bristleback.
Sky.
Yeah, Skywrath, Bat Rider, even Bloodseeker, because every time he uses Q, then it gives you a magic wand charge. You know, Zeus.
Yes.
Heroes like that. That's where you're getting the stick from the side shop and completing your magic wand with your first courier usage. But there's also the post-laning stage magic wand, where you're just accumulating some charges over time, the point where you're eventually just going to have that 300
20.
or so HP burst, you know.
Yeah, I see.
Because it makes a really big difference that amount of HP in game, early, mid, even in the late game, that can make a difference. And they definitely have no shortage of spells that are going to go off in a fight. So here, instead of using your ult and TP like that, I think it would have been, I mean, Ember is just laning down here, but he's versus Kunkka, so, you know, imagine he went a real build and he had an X marks the spot. This guy probably dies to one rotation with the boat combo.
Yeah.
So what should have happened here was, since you were out of regen, you should have walked back to base and walked back, and then used your TP to push this out if the tower was under threat, or go to whichever tower, and then if they tried to dive you under the tower to prevent you from doing that, that's where you use the Dark Rift to get out, instead of just using it to sustain. The cooldown is just, uneven the TP scroll is just too large to do something like this. Like, you want to have at least one of these ready for the 10-minute catapult.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
I want to put on your player perspective. I'm lagging a little, so kind of hard to move the camera. I'll just let you do it. It's really good that you tanked that catapult, or tanked for the catapult. As a result, the building goes down. It's the glyph even, I think.
Yeah, I might have used it, but yeah, I remember. I usually try to tank the tower, it's safe, or use the glyph just to save the catapult so we can take the tower.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely couldn't have tanked the tower before, at the 5-minute mark. Like,
yeah.
That's where maybe you have a salve, tank if it's safe. You don't want to just straight up tank it, but if that's one of the uses for the healing stuff.
I see.
But alright, so the next thing I want to talk about really quickly as far as item builds go is, you know, on a hero like Underlord, he's one of those tanky offlaners that farms up like a pipe and a Crimson Guard. That's pretty popular even now that the meta has shifted slightly. Having a hero that goes pipe and Crimson Guard. But the question you want to ask yourself is, do I go Hood first? Do I go Vanguard first? Do I go Hood and Vanguard and then get the pipe? Or, like, how am I building these items and in what order? And that really just depends on, number one, the sources of damage on the enemy team, and then number two, like the kinds of ways that they're going to play. So, say you wanted to push and they've got wave clear from a Tinker, then you're going to want to have a pipe out pretty early. So you can protect your creeps and give them that 300 extra HP to get damage on the tower. But say that they have like a lot of right clickers, like a Phantom Lancer or something like that. I'm not saying Crimson Guard is bad in this game. They've got Slark who right clicks. They've got Bloodseeker, and that nullifies. Yeah, and that nullifies a lot of their damage. But I don't think you're necessarily going to be taking a full-on team fight against these guys with your team. This is mostly going to be ganks with Ember, ganks with Chronosphere, either split pushing and you like defending towers. At least that's how it should go.
Which it doesn't. I mean, you can see the match.
Yeah, I mean, I've already watched it. I'm just saying how it should go. But even so, I still think you should have gotten the pipe, because at this point in the game, their magic damage is much more severe than their physical damage.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even a Slark initiates with the Dark Pact, so it kind of makes sense first to go for the pipe.
And I'm not even saying that it's wrong to get the Vanguard, because they do have pure damage, they do have physical damage, but I think if you went the Vanguard into the Hood, into the pipe, and got the pipe up as soon as you could as your first item, as your first big item, that is, then it would have been more impactful than this Crimson Guard at first.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
So here you TP in and you defend the tower, but you probably should have been here earlier. Like, you have to identify that this is the easiest objective that they can go for. You're the tankiest hero, you're the tower defender. So this catapult probably, you should have rotated in time so that this catapult doesn't even get to this tower in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, was I just tipping from taking top, or I don't remember what was the reason for the delay?
I think you put a little bit too much emphasis on trying to take this tower versus trying to defend this one. Like, remember, you were just tanking the tower and then you Dark Rifted back to base and you TP here, which I think is a fine play. But as an Underlord, I don't think that takes precedence over defending your own tower. I think what you could have done is made sure that this catapult was gone to minimize the damage that this tower takes. Like, this tower, I'm going to tell you right now, it's mostly at full HP, and now that the catapult's gone, it's going to stay quite healthy. But it was at the cost of this tower taking a lot of hits from this catapult.
Yeah, that's okay. I see.
And you've got plenty of heroes that are, you know, eventually going to take this tower. It's just, especially with the change to denies, that denying the tower gives no gold for the enemy whatsoever. It makes defending these towers and drawing out the time that it takes and not sacking these towers that much more important. Because this tower gold is really important for like snowballing. At this point, you don't have your ult, and Ember Spirit decided to go down here, but you probably should have just stayed. I think because they're here, they want to push down this tower, and you've got other heroes that can go to other parts of the map. You don't want your highest, your less farm priority heroes to be in the safer positions on the map, especially if you're a deep push. Right now, out of all 5 heroes, you probably have the least amount of farm priority. That doesn't mean you're not going to get a lot of farm just because you have the ability to defend these towers, maybe without even dying. Thanks to your Dark Rift and your Firestorm. So instead of leaving when Ember Spirit decides to come here, I think you could have just stayed here and did like a jungle camp or two and just, you know, just spammed your Firestorm on the wave whenever they came and tried to be there to back up with the Pit of Malice a little. Pretty much have to act like some kind of barrier for your team as an Underlord.
But if I stay in the safe lane, can Ember farm? I mean,
Ember should be... Like, the problem is you've got too many carries. But that doesn't mean you can... Like, you have to realize that this is your job to defend this tower, because this is the tower that's going to go down if any of them are going to go down. So you just have to... You know, if Ember says anything, just mute him. Because you're doing the right thing and he's doing the wrong thing, and he's putting himself in danger. Ember Spirit could be up here. Even if Weaver's in the lane, he could be farming these camps offensively instead of putting himself in the prime position to get ganked.
okay.
But you know, if you pretty much just have to, and it's part of the learning process. If your teammates are wrong and if you have the right idea and your teammates have the wrong idea, then if you can't convince them with saying like one thing, and they say okay and start doing the right thing for their hero, then you just have to mute them.
Okay.
Like right now, Ember Spirit, Bloodseeker can't do anything to him. Bloodseeker can't really do anything to Void either. He can just time walk out of the silence and TP away. Weaver, he can just Sakuchi out of the silence and then time lapse back after he takes the damage from the rupture. Like none of these heroes except Zeus really cares, and Zeus at this stage can just TP away anyway without the Bloodseeker.
Yeah, I TP'd at the wrong time.
If anything, I think TPing there was the right move, but you just did it slightly wrong. Instead of TPing where they were going to have vision of you, just TP into the trees and get off as many Firestorm spams as you can.
Yeah, I think when I was seeing the map, I only see Kunkka, so I was thinking, okay, I can take on him alone. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter if Kunkka is there. But then I did not see Ogre, and I think also Tinker was there. I think that's why I died, and I did not see them in the map because we didn't have wards.
Yeah, I don't mind that you were coming down here to help defend the tower, but you gotta... And they are going to make this move where they dive you and try to kill you. But you have to be in these trees to make it as hard as possible, where you're getting off your firestorm, and you're probably getting off your ult as well.
Yeah, and also Pit of Malice, I can do it to give me time. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you did make the right move, but it's a world of difference just keeping in front of the tower versus keeping behind the tower in the trees. So this is the point where you probably want to start putting down some observer wards, and you do have some, but you got to recognize that their next easiest objective, if not this tier 2, is the mid tower. And the way that they get this mid tower is they control your jungle, and then they make their way towards pincering the mid tower, or they control your jungle to such a degree that they can even take this tier 2. So while you were in a position to help Void get this kill on the Slark, down here is still where you have to be, because this is where the enemy wants to be. As the D-pusher, you need to, as the tanky D-pusher that is, you need to be putting yourself in the position where the enemies have to walk through you in order to get to their objective.
Okay.
So the way that they do that is getting map control in the jungle, and you can see, now that we're watching a replay, they do have a ward here, but you should probably have like vision here, seeing these camps and this way to rotate through the jungle. And I'm not saying like overextend or anything. And if they didn't have this Kunkka X marks the spot, you could even overextend if you wanted to, just to get enemies to rotate over to you, and then you just TP out with your ult. Can't really do that against Kunkka necessarily if he does it correctly. If he does it correctly, then there's no way that you're getting out.
Yeah, that's true.
But, if there wasn't a Kunkka, then you could push this all the way in, and maybe even farm these camps, and try to get them to rotate over here. So, what that ends up doing is, it gives Void plus Ember, or Void plus Zeus, an opportunity to get this kill on Slark. Like, you just probably didn't have to be here for this kill. And this Void is slightly underfarmed, just because he was jungling. But
okay.
Normally, at this point in the game, just a Void plus a Zeus ult is enough to take down a Slark and a Chrono. And you could have been... I'm not saying that you can have this map control and go for these kills and defend this tower and do everything, but you need to impede the enemy's ability to take this map control as much as you can as Underlord. Which means occupying this part of the map, even though it's the most dangerous part. So instead of Ember Spirit being here, Ember could be defending mid, or up here farming these camps, or up here farming this, instead of being in a position where he could get X marks the spot and just die. You seem to end up in the right place the majority of the time, but you're just like they're positions where you should either already be there, or you get there a little bit too late. And you don't get punished as often as what's possible because of the enemy aren't going to really be playing optimally either. But if you are in these positions at the right time, then it's going to increase your probability of winning. It's going to decrease the amount of farm that the enemy gets, and it's going to give your team more farm. Just by you being in the right place at the right time. And I mean, you're in the right place here, and your entire team is also here. It's not necessarily a good thing for your entire team to be here. Maybe just avoid rotating in to use Chrono, or maybe Weaver or Ember being down here too, taking the lane farm while you take some jungle, or you like whichever farm is more dangerous is the one that you're going to take, putting yourself in between you and them. And this is the point where even if it's the right play for you to be down here, then you gotta go somewhere else, and that is what you're doing. If your team is just over-rotating, there's a certain point where you're a team of 5 carries, and there's just 2 lanes, and the entire jungle that isn't getting farmed. You gotta take as much of that as you can. And I'll say that as an Underlord, the time when you're taking this farm that other people really should be taking is when there's no towers for you to defend.
Okay, so my first priority is to defend towers, and the play predict where the enemy team will come, so I ward it properly and I defend it, and then have Dark Rift just to TP back. I mean, if they are like 5 and I'm 1 and I cannot do anything.
Right, and then you can't just let farm to go to waste. So if your team is doing that and there's no tower for you to defend, then that's when you rotate over to mid, when either Ember Spirit or Void or Weaver or Zeus should be here instead of you. If none of those people are going there, what you could do is say, hey guys, there's some farm here, one of you should go take it. Or if they just don't listen to you, you gotta go take it yourself.
Okay.
That's all it takes to kill you?
So at this point, the next tower that's going to get hit, I've seen the Bloodseeker pushing this out. Zeus is walking over here. You could have, since Zeus was walking over here and you were in a party with him, you could have just said, Zeus, take this farm, tower's not in danger, and you just start running up here. Don't need to use a TP or anything. If you just didn't even stop here, you would have got up here in time to stop the tower from taking any damage. And the Bloodseeker at this point, and in most points of the game, he just, especially under tower, it's just impossible for him to kill you. So it's fine that you're trying to take this damage on the tower. In a lot of cases, this is going to be the right play. But what should be happening is Ember Spirit's up here defending this while you're hitting that. Or you're up here and Ember Spirit is here, or Void's here, or anybody is here hitting this tower. Anybody except you, and you're defending this. But if it's the choice between hitting this tower and letting this Bloodseeker get free damage on this tower, then you're going to have to defend this one.
Okay.
And eventually Weaver comes up, but it's not until after this tower already takes half of its HP, you know?
Okay, yeah, I see.
And in the meantime, you did get this entire tower, but this just shouldn't have happened. you could have had this and forced them to rotate, and then you get this tower. Or, like, they either defend this tower, or they defend this tower, or they take this tower. Like, those are the choices for the enemy team. You need to make them commit to one, and the rest of your team takes the others. And against Tinker, maybe that's a bit difficult, but this Tinker wasn't really doing his job that well of defending towers. Just to put down the march. I'm not exactly sure what he's been doing. I haven't seen march too much to defend towers. I guess he was probably down here marching, and that's why they couldn't push the tower. But he should have just laid down 2 marches and then TP'd mid and stopped you from 2. But what Tinker can't do is stop you from defending this.
That's all it takes to kill you?
So I guess he just TP'd back to base.
Yeah, I made a mistake. I think I was like dying with 100 HP left, and I just panicked, and I, instead of ulting back to base, I ulted to a T2 tower, and then I did the TP to go back to base. I think it was a mistake, but yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. Stuff like that happens. You already know it was a mistake, so you just need to minimize it. I like how you sang yourself a clarity, but I don't know about this Radiance purchase, and I think probably could have been here to defend this tier. Did this tier 1 go down? I feel like it just went down in like the past minute or so. Yeah, you definitely should have been here defending this.
I think there was a siege creep at top. That's why I went top. I don't know, maybe, no, but now it's 23, so maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, the siege creeps comes at minute 20, so yeah, I missed it. I missed watching for me.
Yeah, so this ties into, as well as like warding for defending your structures and identifying what the enemy's objective is. Now that the enemy pretty much has, I mean, even if you don't know that there's 4 entire wards in this jungle, you gotta have some idea that they've got control of this jungle and you don't. So that's where you have to get the best wards that aren't going to get de-warded up as you can. If that means you're warding right here, see if they're pincering you behind the tower, so be it. If that means you're warding here, you know, slightly less deep, like just anywhere around here is where you need to have a ward to defend this tower. They're not going to be coming from up here as long as this tower is still up. At least they should. But if for some reason their team is mostly controlling this area of the map rather than this one, and in which case maybe they are coming from this way, then you adjust accordingly and ward up on this direction. But that's if they're just forcing mid for some reason while this tower's still up. And the enemy team could be playing in your own jungle much more. Like, to see where all of they are and see where all their wards are, they're just not making use of the map control that they have. Did you walk that? Yeah. So you TP'd back, and then you warded up here. Should have just been ready to defend this mid tower. That's pretty much just where you have to be. If you were here, the Zeus wouldn't have died. And maybe you turn it with your Ember Spirit, and your maybe avoid TPs in, and somehow has a Chrono, or whatever. You just need to. You need to be in the enemy's line of path of their path.
Yeah, okay, this was a big mistake. I think we could have gotten all the kills without losing the towers.
Yeah.
Or at least nothing happening, like we saved the tower and nobody on our team would have died.
Yeah, they don't have enough tower damage and tank ability to just push into a Zeus, plus an Ember with a Battle Fury, plus an Underlord. And if they decide to still go into that, then that's where they just die. And this is also where you could have, you maybe would have reduced your death by one time if you were building up to the hood, and you would have had the pipe, maybe even the pipe plus the crimson at this point.
I mean, there is one question that, well, two questions that I would like to ask. First thing is that I'm kind of getting the feeling that, I mean, Underlord does not need Radiance actually to do any farming. I mean, he can still do it with the Q spam. And the thing is that then the only reason that I see, okay, because I follow the guide by Tortellini or something like that in the Dota, so I build according to that more or less. So I see it in the core item. So the only thing that I can see that Radiance might be useful is in the team fight, that since I don't die, I just do Radiance damage.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I think it makes sense to build Radiance on Underlord. The other thing is that, I mean, in our team, I don't know. I think I did, I mean, as you said, I did mistakes. But for example, in our team, as you will see, I mean, Void, Ember, or Weaver don't do much damage. I mean, so I was thinking, an Underlord, can he be anything other than a tank providing aura? Because I usually end up building something like Crimson, Pipe, Shiva's Guard, then maybe Assault Cuirass or Blade Mail, I mean, depending on the situation. But is there any way to, I mean, do him to do more damage, or is he's not meant to do such a thing?
I think the unfortunate thing about Underlord is he just can't really play that role as the, like he doesn't, like sure he's a core, but he's a core in the sense that he's a utility core. And it's pretty difficult, and you have to be pretty far ahead to be able to really dish out that damage. He's slow, he's got pretty damn low agility, he's a strength hero. All of his kit is basically, okay, I'm just going to sit here in the fight and spam my spells, or I'm going to sit behind the tower and make it really difficult for them to dive, and I'm going to take my entire team somewhere else. So it's quite difficult to play him as a carry, just because of all those facts. I mean, sure, he has an ability that just gives him a lot of damage, but he doesn't really have any ability to make use of it in against enemy heroes, that is.
Okay. No, I just wanted to ask that because that's what I noticed about Underlord is that the best thing I can do in a team is to extend the fight so that maybe our carry if they're under farm to get the enough farm, and then hoping that if we have a Zeus who can like deal a lot of damage just to keep him alive, and then maybe we hope to win. But so I cannot really expect to play Underlord and be able to carry the game.
Yeah, essentially. If you wanted to have a hero that could build tanky like an Underlord, or have like a similar playstyle to Underlord that um, can become more of a right-click core, I'm not exactly sure what it would be. Maybe a Doom, but he's not like just something that has more kill potential solo, perhaps, but can also be a nice hero to build utility items on for team fights. Not exactly sure what that would be.
Okay.
But if you want to play Underlord, then you're going to have to, play the utility. There's not really much of a choice about it.
Okay.
And as far as other situational items besides the blade mill, I'm pretty sure Radiance just isn't an item on Underlord.
No, it's just that, as I said, it's on the guide and I build it, but now I'm starting to question building of the item after like playing 30 games. Like, it's not
Yeah.
really that
It probably
helpful.
doesn't. Like, you're probably feeling like you're killing creeps only slightly faster because you have the
Yeah, yeah.
Radiance.
The only thing I could think of why Torta put it in the guide is just during the team fights, you're the one that usually die last, and so you will deal radiance damage, and that's it. I think
Yeah,
it really doesn't help with anything else.
not really. And Radiance is an okay item, but it's just too greedy. Like, like an alternative to this would be the pipe, as I mentioned,
Yeah,
uh, as well as you could even go for a halberd because Slark can't purge it.
yeah.
Kunkka can't right click to his big crit. Bloodseeker's just sitting there, not doing anything. Um, and
Yeah,
if
I
the
think.
evasion is really good against Slark because it prevents him from getting his stacks up, the halberd, I mean. Sure, the Radiance provides the 17% miss chance uh, to your allies as well, but that's pretty much like nothing compared to just putting a halberd on.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, from now on, I will not make Radiant on
Yeah.
Underlord.
I mean, you could even go, if you wanted an even cheaper option to get it up even faster, and you needed some more armor plus some evasion that you could even use on your team or use it to help take Roche. You could Solar Crest, another really nice item versus Slark. You could go for the Glimmer Cape. Uh, I'm talking if you need to have like an item right now that helps you with your team and against these heroes, and you're not like, and you have to give up more farm to your team, and you just need to be effective. You could even go for the Glimmer. Besides that, sometimes you want to go for the Lotus Orb, and I did see that you went the Shiva's Guard later on, which I think is a great item versus Tinker and Slark, because it reduces Slark's attack speed by, I forget how much exactly.
I think something like, okay, 45.
Yeah, 45. That's a big deal for Slark. He's getting essentially 45% less Essence Shift stacks just by you having a Shiva next to him. So Shiva's a great item. Any sort of item that gives you evasion. I think Radiance is a good item for that purpose, but I don't think Radiance is an item at all right now, except against Phantom Lancer, maybe. It's just too greedy. The Blade Mail, it's good as a tanky hero. when the enemies can't control their damage. So Blade Mail versus Kunkka, extremely good if you get critted, crit cleaved by Kunkka, and he takes the crit Blade Mail damage back to him. That's probably like half his HP. Tinker, he can't control his damage. Slark, if he presses Dark Pact, then he's taking damage from that. Bloodseeker, if you get Ruptured, you can turn on Blade Mail and just run. And you're going to have more HP than he does. Ogre doesn't really do that much damage, so you don't really care about him. But Blade Mail is a really good item. So I'm not even sure if I would have gone the Crimson Guard here. Maybe I would have still gotten the Vanguard just to have a little bit more HP. But some of these other items I mentioned would have had more impact than the Crimson in this particular game.
No, I think at least at early game we have mostly magic damage. I mean, if it's either the Ogre, Dark Pact, Blood Rite, or Tinker, we don't have that much right click. So I think it actually makes perfect sense. I don't know, maybe I made a mistake. I built it halfway through, then I realized it. But now I can say Pipe would have been a better item here.
Yeah, Pipe into Halberd, or Pipe to into Solar Crest, or I don't know, Pipe into Lads, maybe. I think Lads is making a bit of a comeback.
Okay.
Alright, just continue. What were you saying?
No, it's that, I mean, I usually make the items on, I used to make it like this. So if I see at the early game I get magic damage, I first make Pipe, and then I did the Radiance, and then made the Crimson, because I know that, okay, there are physical attacks, but now you're even saying it that here I didn't have to build Crimson even now, so I could go for Solar Crest or other items, or Halberd, instead of going for Crimson.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much impact the Crimson Guard is going to have. I mean, the splash damage from Kunkka Tidebringer, he doesn't care about the Crimson. He's still going to do a ton of damage in these fights. Sure, Slark and Bloodseeker have a lot of have right clicks and right click a lot, but the Crimson Guard is most effective against a lot of kind of lower. Yeah, a lot of small damage is more effective.
So something like something like a PL would absolutely be trashed by a Crimson Guard.
Yeah, PL against a Crimson does no damage. A Brewmaster, but you can purge the Crimson, but otherwise, lots of little instances of damage. Beastmaster has a lot of small instances of damage.
So how does Brute purge the Crimson? Is it with the Diffusal Blade or
the Brewmaster?
Oh, Brewmaster.
Yeah,
so how
the Storm Panda has a 4-second cooldown, AoE purge, and Crimson Guard's active is purgeable by that. But not everybody knows how to press that button.
Okay, no, it's a difficult hero to play anyway, I think.
It is. I've got trouble playing him.
But you cannot purge Crimson with Diffusal or Yule's Scepter. Just asking.
You can purge it with Yule Scepter, but not with Diffusal, because Diffusal doesn't purge anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so some other items to consider as extension slash luxury items on Underlord. You know, Gem would have been pretty useful against the Slark. And I think, yeah, this guy has a Shadow Blade. Yeah, they've got 3 Shadow Blades, so Gem would have been pretty useful for you to have. And other than that, I've got some items down here. Hex. Hex is really good against Tinker. If he gets in range of your Hex, you just Hex him, and then he probably dies. Hex the Slark. Can't purge it off.
But should I mean, Hex is... I mean, does
That's
it
like
make
a late
sense?
game item, though.
Yeah, because I mean, now I'm a bit unsure, because usually, as I say, I make aura items on oh god, Underlord, so like pipe, crimson stuff. So I'm not really sure about those kind of items. For example, I was thinking making Orchid in this game, but I was thinking like Orchid, I mean, Orchid helps, I think, against Tinker, for example, or even a Slark. I mean, even though he has the Dark Pact, but okay, can do it one time, not 2 times in a row. But, or even against Bloodseeker or Ogre, for example, it helps. But I was not sure on Underlord you should build such items, like also the Hex, as you say. So I think, I mean, in my perspective, like Underlord is made to have like aura items, but
That's true
it's
for the
just...
most part, and that's why I say Hex is like a late game item. It's like a luxury. If your team just doesn't have enough disable against these slippery heroes, then after you get your core items and some of your situational items for the game, sometimes you just need to go for the Hex. And I don't think this... well, this game goes for like another 20 minutes, so after you get your pipe, maybe just go for the Hex afterwards. Ignoring this Radiance, and you probably wouldn't have wanted... Like, Shiva's is really good, but gives you vision to try to help catch up the Tinker, makes you and your team much more tanky against Slark. But, you know, other than the Chronosphere, to catch out Tinker and Slark, you don't have that much. So, Hex is unpurgeable.
Okay.
I mean, there's probably no hero in the game where you're just going to go a Hex like second item. So, just a late game additional disable type of thing. Interesting. Now, at this point in the game, the enemy team has, you know, 4.5 cores. Even this ogre is building like kind of dubious items. So, and they're ahead of you. So it's really up to these guys to carry the game at this point. Like, you're not going to scale into the late game as a right-click damage dealer. So, I mean, you can continue preventing the enemy team from pushing and doing all that you can, saving people with your ult sometimes even. But at the end of the day, it's up to these guys to carry.
Yeah.
And you could have played in such a way to put your team in a better position. But I don't really blame you for this loss, and this is more like, instead of looking at it, how could I have won this? I'm not necessarily saying this was a winnable game for you as Underlord. But you can look at this game and still learn from it. You don't always have to look at a replay with the intention of
Improving.
unlocking the secret of how you could have won this game. But improving is more of a goal than, you know, winning a single game of Dota.
Yeah, I see.
So at this point, pretty much went over everything I set out to go over. Yeah. Do you have any final questions before we wrap it up?
Oh, there is one question I have. Suppose that in this particular game, then I think I know the answer. Wanting to ask the question: if I'm as an offlaner, if I get the chance to take down T1 at minute 5, let's say, should I do it or not? But I think now against the Slark, I rather not even do it. Even let's say a Slark, I mean, let's say I can do it. Like I have the opportunity. We have like so many creeps. But then I think it's better that not to do it if a Slark is without support. So I just get last hits and denies. But if I'm like playing against a, I don't know, a support and a core, and if I can get down the tower at minute 10 or 5, should I do it or not? Because afterwards the lane will be pushed somehow, and it's hard, to stay in the lane and, put pressure on them. Or maybe I just should use to pull the camp on the dire side to bring the wave, just to balance, to create the equilibrium. Or what should I do? When do I get a T1 tower at less than 10 minutes or at 10 minutes mark? And when should I not?
When they have such a weak laner that they just can't do anything about it, and you can dive them under the tower and kill them, at the same time that your catapult's coming in, and you're taking the entire tower in one go, like you have to, the number one priority, when you have the upper hand in the lane, is to prevent the enemy from getting last hits and getting denies yourself, to put yourself even further ahead in the lane compared to them. And in this particular instance, it would have been the right move for you to just keep the equilibrium back here, just so that you can get to the side shop, or maybe even keep it right here to prevent him from getting to the side shop, but just not under his tower.
Yeah.
And delay his level 6 as much as you can. Because, like as I said before, for Slark, the entire point of the laning stage is just to get 6, so you can start spamming your Dark Pact and farming up. But if you have the upper hand in the lane, like when you're 2v1 versus the Slark, you can prevent that from happening for as long as you can, and that's going to cause a ripple effect in Slark's ability to be a hero in the game by shutting his levels down like that.
Oh, I see.
But if you have that kill potential and you can push the tower and kill him to stop getting that XP, then it would be worth it, because unless you're killing him, then you're not preventing him from getting this XP when you're pushing the tower. And once this tower is gone, it's much more difficult to keep the lane in such a position where you can continue to get denies. So, I mean, sometimes when your tower goes down as a safe laner, you're just thinking, oh great, now I can farm, And I think that's the type of situation the Slark would have been in if you got this tower at 5 minutes.
So it's somehow situational and depends on the hero.
Pretty much, you want to have the ability to kill these guys under the tower and prevent them from getting the XP, and you also want to be some kind of hero that just stays here for a while, like a Doom or a Timbersaw maybe, or something like that, that just wants to sit in this lane forever. But you're going to want to rotate out as this Underlord to prevent the enemy from using the catapult from getting your tower. Your first priority isn't taking down these towers, but preventing the tower damage from happening.
So, I mean, I think then to sum it up, the best thing that I can do as Underlord is, I mean, unless I can get easy kills under the tower, it's good. If I can get kills even under tower, it's good to push and take it. If I can't, the best thing I do is try to get as many denies and last hits that I can. And if, for example, it means to use Q a lot, so that they run out of region and they cannot come to lane. That's one way. If I can like out hit them, like because I have the atrophy, just to get every last hits and denies, and then maybe later when it comes at the siege creeps, I just make sure that their siege creep dies, but ours doesn't die, at least while I'm in the lane, so that we can defend. But okay, if we got the tower, it's good. But if we didn't get the tower anyway, we are not gonna to get any damage done. We will not have any damage done to our towers.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to rotate out of your lane like a wave or two before the siege creep comes. At the 5-minute mark, if they're gearing up to put a lot of damage on this tower and your team can't really do anything to stop it, it's in your best interest to TP down and, you know, spam the wave out. But that's not going to happen most of the time. So you definitely want their catapult to die before yours.
Okay.
Like you want the catapult to die before you rotate out of the lane, for sure. Like, if you're still here at, like, say the 9-minute and 30-second mark, for instance, and you're going to want to stay so you can, you know, even get the bounty runes, since that's happening in 10 minutes now. And then maybe you spam out the wave and try to make sure their siege creep dies. And then maybe that's when you TP down here. If they're not doing it fast. If they're doing it fast, then you're probably going to have to forego these bounty runs and just try to make sure that their siege creep dies by spamming out the wave and leaving to your next firestorm on these creeps.
Okay, then I think it's clear now. And one other question. There was a game where I think I was playing. I forgot. I was playing a support and I had a Bloodseeker in lane, and we were playing against the Void. I think we actually took down his tower at T1. The T1 at 5-minute mark. But was that a good idea or not? Or, I mean, how should we deal with it? Because my friend was saying it's not a good idea simply because then he can now farm safely because the lane will be pushed. But then I think it's more or less the same situation like here. But is it a good idea to do it? Or again, not just to keep the lane equilibrium so that we can also gank him easier? Or
yeah, I think it comes down to how much you're going to care that this offlaner is going to. I assume, like, you were either your friend was Bloodseeker and you were in the safe, one of the safe lanes, right?
Yeah, I was in the safe. I forgot the support that I was playing, but I was supporting my friend. He was playing Bloodseeker, but I have to look to see what I was playing. I don't remember exactly. But I know we were playing against a solo Void. So
yeah, in that situation, it would have been best to just keep the equilibrium back and try to delay Void 6 as much as you can. Because, sure, Void doesn't have any ability to defend this tower, but it's pretty difficult to dive him and kill him under this tower.
I think I was playing Jack Hero in that game. I mean, we finished the game in 35 minutes. But I think, I was playing Jack Hero with Bloodseeker in the lane, and we were against Void.
Yeah, you probably just want, in that situation, to get Bloodseeker as much of a lead as you can over the Void. And then as the Jakiro, you can just, once he has a level or two over the Void because he's getting the denies, at that point you can go start helping top or something. Or, like if it's a solo Void, then that's what you want to do. You want to just secure the lane, give them an advantage, and then leave and trust that they'll continue to have the advantage and maybe get an even bigger advantage.
Okay, so you say, for example, we stay until maybe the first 2-3 levels, we get as many denies and harass as we can. Then I know, okay, Bloodseeker can stay in lane, he can deny the Void, and he can have his farm. Then I TP to somewhere else and then help our offlaner. Okay.
Yeah, at that point you can just start dumping Q on their safe laner once you secure the lane for Bloodseeker. I mean, if Bloodseeker has an advantage over Void in that matchup, then there's just pretty much nothing Void can do. He's just not going to get last hits, and he can't harass the Bloodseeker because every time you get a last hit or deny on Bloodseeker, then you get like 100 HP.
Yeah. Okay, then I think, I don't have any more questions for now. So thanks a lot for the hints and tips. Is there anything else you want to ask or add?
No, that'll be all. Alright. Well, good luck in your next few games. I hope you win some more games because of this. Seems like your win rate went up.
I mean, I actually got a bit tired of Underlord because I think I had the winning streak of 8 games, and I think now with the winning rate is like 70%. So you got a bit bored because the hero is quite simple to play, and then you don't have any excitement of getting like kills or rampages or things like, for example, Kunkka can do with having 3-day dayless and then just killing. But yeah, I think if I want to raise my MMR, I think I can just spam Underlord.
Yeah, you could continue spamming Underlord. If you play correctly and defend towers, then by the nature of automatically having more map control over the enemy, then you'll probably win out eventually. You're preventing as much tower damage from the enemy as possible while itemizing for team fights as best you can.
Yeah, I think that helps. And then maybe in unranked, play like the other heroes that I like to play. I mean, just to have fun, let's say.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.
All right. You have a nice day too. Later.
Thanks. Bye.